You don't deserve healthcare. Forget about it. Seriously, who do you think you are? How greedy do you have to be to think that you deserve your tax dollars to pay for your healthcare when that money is needed in other much more important places? Like, for instance, giving Israel $10 billion a year to bomb kids. Or, for instance, to fund our $1 trillion military budget so we can, bomb kids. I mean, really, have some shame. Jokes aside, healthcare is a serious problem in America, and we spend more than any other country per capita on healthcare, yet yield some of the worst results. So you might ask yourself, well, why don't we just have a universal healthcare system, bro? Like every other developed nation does? And that's because America sucks. Our entire system relies on scamming people, and our politicians are completely bought out by these industries. In America, the goals of health insurance companies aren't to help as many people as they can, but rather to make as much money as they can, which obviously leads to horrible results for people that rely on this healthcare. Each year, over 40,000 people die simply because they can't afford healthcare. I'm pretty sure I'm preaching to the choir, since most Americans agree with me that we should have a universal healthcare system, but I wanted to talk about the main reasons why people actually support private healthcare and discuss how fucking stupid they are. The first argument that I wanted to talk about that I see people use all the time is the myth that people will magically have worse healthcare outcomes under single-payer systems, and this is just objectively false. While Americans can see faster turnaround times for things like ER visits, this is mainly due to the fact that Americans are more likely to go to the ER for something trivial or simple, since they are less likely to have a primary care physician compared to the average person in other developed countries. And again, the difference doesn't even vary that much in terms of wait times. This is such a stupid thing to use as a point in justifying almost 30 million Americans not having health insurance. A place like Canada, which is notorious for having long waits at medical centers, also chronically underfunds its single-payer healthcare system, which has led to these rising wait times over the past couple decades. Also, this is just talking about the ER. The average wait for an appointment with your primary care physician is about 23 days in America, with the UK at about 19 days, and a place like France at just about a week. Elective procedures are the same between most countries, with people usually having to wait a few months, but this is normal since they're typically not urgent or anything. In basically every other metric of healthcare though, America is dog shit. Lower life expectancy, higher infant mortality rate, higher rate of obesity. Literally anything meaningful in terms of health outcomes, America fails miserably compared to other countries. Here's something hilarious. In a study by the Commonwealth Fund I saw while researching for this video, I noticed that the United States performed so badly in terms of healthcare outcomes, they had to exclude the US's data when calculating the mean and standard deviation, otherwise it would be inaccurate and skew it. Another argument I hear all the time is this like libertarian talking point where they say like, healthcare isn't a right because you aren't entitled to the labor of somebody else, dumbass. Perfect, bro. I completely agree with you. Let's defund the police and make them privatized. Let's defund firefighters, okay? If you want a firefighter to extinguish your house that's fucking burning, you have to have the Firefighter Plus subscription, okay? Let's see what else. Libraries? Yeah, that's just a rental service now, okay? You have to rent the books there because, I mean, you're not entitled to the librarian's labor, right? Every time you drive on a road, I want you to Venmo the guy who paved it at least like $5 per mile you drove, right? Because you're not entitled to that labor. I mean, you see how ridiculous this sounds when you just expand this logic into other aspects of our lives. Healthcare is a fundamental human right that everyone deserves, and I'm absolutely fucking entitled to it if it's being funded by my tax dollars, which is exactly what I'm arguing for. The last argument that I hear all the time is, well, I don't want my tax dollars to pay for someone else's healthcare. This not only is just an absolutely fucking brain dead take, but also is based solely on greed and selfishness. You're telling me you hear this idea that can help every American, including yourself, by providing healthcare to everyone, no matter how rich or poor they are, and the first thing that comes to your mind is, wait a second, I don't want my tax dollars to be used to help other people. That's what you're concerned about. You are a cuck, bro. You are a bootlicker. Also, if you use your brain for just 5 seconds, you'll realize that even with private insurance, you are still paying for other people's healthcare by your own standards. That's just how any sort of insurance pool works. You put in money each month or so and utilize those funds collected from everyone whenever you actually need it. The difference is, though, private insurance is allowed to scam you by charging you however much they please and deny you service if they feel like it, unlike universal healthcare, where your healthcare would be a guarantee by virtue of it being paid by your taxes. Okay, let me illustrate this for you. You see these are all the big healthcare companies and their little pools of money that everyone's putting their money into. Now imagine you make one big pool. You see, your money is still going in the same spot. You're still technically paying for other people's healthcare, but you would be paying a lot less this way since there isn't a profit incentive. So you might agree with me now that these arguments people make in favor of private healthcare are just stupid as fuck. But you might be asking, okay, but what are the good things about a universal healthcare system? And that's totally fair of you to wonder. For starters, the obvious one is that healthcare would be treated as a right rather than a commodity. This means that people who are less fortunate will not have to worry about not being able to afford their healthcare or medicine, or at least not have to worry about being seriously impacted financially just to afford their medical needs. Here in America, did you know that about 2/3 of bankruptcies are due to medical reasons? I mean, we're in the wealthiest country in the world, and over 500,000 people each year have to file for medical bankruptcy. This is like cyberpunk levels of dystopian. It's just insane. And you can find many cases as well of people dying because they have to ration insulin, for instance, because prices just keep going up. But my point is, universal healthcare would give everyone access to healthcare, unlike what we have now, which is essentially pay to win. The second benefit is the economical impact. Now, if you're a psychopath and you don't like that first point I made because for some reason you're one of those, well, I don't want my tax dollars helping other people kind of guys. Okay, perfect. This one's for you, okay? From a purely fiscal point of view, a universal healthcare system is better than what we have now because we would save over $400 billion a year by switching to a Medicare for all style system. This is because fees for hospitals and clinical services would be reduced with the removal of the parasitic middleman known as healthcare companies. Also, there would be much less overhead with a unified system, and finally the government would actually negotiate drug prices just like every other fucking country does to ensure that we are not paying, literally, an arm and a leg just to afford to live. So even if you're one of those dudes that for some reason has a visceral reaction to the thought of your tax dollars helping someone in need, at the end of the day, the country would be saving a substantial amount of money by switching to a single payer system, which would go into improving other aspects of our lives like public transport, education, scientific research, and so on. In my opinion, it is an abject moral failure that we as a country, as the wealthiest country at that, chooses to have a system where we leave so many people behind to suffer physically, mentally, and financially just so a few fucking dickheads at the top can hoard so much wealth and power. Again, I know I'm probably preaching to the choir here as most Americans agree with my position, but I just wanted to talk about it and hopefully change some minds or give you a different perspective on this matter. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe and let me know what you think in the comments. I hope you have a great week and I'll see you in the next one.